Hello, this is Broadcasting 10. I'm Professor Tracy Savage, and this is my lecture video. This lecture video is designed to put you on the right path for this week's assignments, and I hope it'll answer any questions you might have. So please watch the entire video. By the end of this week, you will have watched this lecture video. You'll read 3 files. The first one gives you tips on how to select the right radio show, which I will also review in this lecture. I have provided information on how to find and convert royalty-free music. And I have instructions on how to format a hard drive for a Mac and a PC. This is good information to know even if you don't have a hard drive for this class. If you're going to be editing audio or video projects, hard drives are really critical for storing all of your files. I will go over this information in this lecture video. By the end of this week, you will review information on how to borrow a Zoom audio recorder from the Media Arts Department. You may not need to borrow a Zoom audio recorder, but this professional recorder will make this class a bit easier, since you won't be recording and storing audio files on your phone. There are forms that need to be filled out, and you need to take a photo of your legal ID and submit them all to the Dropbox at the bottom of this module. I have complete instructions on how to borrow a Zoom posted in this module. Please read and follow these written instructions carefully. Also, by the end of this week, you will have been assigned 4 assignments. 3 are due by the end of this week. This week, I will be assigning you your radio show. I will review all of the instructions in this lecture video, but there's also a page in this module that you can download and read as you prep your radio shows. You must submit your first radio show by the end of week 3. You'll also be assigned 2 questionnaires this week that must be completed by the end of this week and submitted to the proper Dropboxes found at the bottom of the module. One questionnaire requires you to analyze a radio show from a previous class, and the second requires you to come up with a topic for your radio show. We will be discussing these radio show topics this week and next week, brainstorming ideas and possible guests. But to help you fill out this questionnaire, please read the file in this module that provides tips on how to select the right topic for your show. And your 4th assignment this week is to gather the course materials that you will need for this class and submit screenshots of your materials to the Dropbox at the bottom of this module. It's a busy week, so don't wait to get started. All of your assignments, except your actual radio show, are due at the end of this week. So let's take a look at the agenda for this lecture video. In this lecture video, I will be discussing your radio show, giving you complete instructions and providing you with tips on how to come up with a topic and how to produce your show and find guests. This information is all spelled out in a separate file in this module that you can read and download to your desktop. And in addition to assigning you your radio show, I will also be giving you 3 other assignments. I'm going to go over those assignments in this lecture video. In this lecture video, I will also show you how to format a hard drive for a Mac or a PC or both. Finally, I will discuss royalty-free music and sound effects and where to find free MP3 files that you can use in your projects. So let's get started. You're going to be hosting a radio show this semester. Complete instructions are provided for you in a separate page in this module, but I'm going to go over those instructions for you now. This semester, you will produce 6 radio shows that you will host as if you were live. In other words, once you start, you don't stop until your show is over, and no editing. You must prepare and read a scripted open to your show. Please try to write this in a way that's easy for you to read so that you sound like you aren't reading, so that you sound conversational. You will also prepare and read a scripted close, the ending to your show. Again, try to keep it natural and conversational. Scripting the open and close for your show will help to make you start and end your show smoothly. You are welcome to get all 6 of your shows done in the first month if you want. But to keep you on track, starting on week 3, you are required to do at least 1 radio show every 2 weeks. There are drop boxes for your recorded radio shows and your scripts in the weeks 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13 modules. Again, you can do 2 or 3 in 1 week if you want, but if you miss those deadlines, you will lose points for failing to submit a show on time. You can also do more than 6 shows and earn some extra credit. There is a drop box for extra radio shows in the week 14 module. Each show is worth 100 points, and altogether they equal 20% of your total grade. Each show must be a 25-minute conversation with a different guest every week. I will allow shows to run between 24 and 26 minutes, so watch your clock closely. So the details. Let's begin with essential on-air rules. Don't swear. This is a family radio station. You can't interview friends or family members. The problem with this is that listeners might think that the host might go easy on their guest and pull their punches because the guest is a friend or a family member. You should steer clear of using friends and relatives as show guests. The rule holds true for anyone with whom you have a personal relationship. They are off limits. You can't use music without permission from the artist. Music has copyright protections, and you could be sued for using someone else's music without permission. You may invite a local artist to perform live. Also, no personal opinions. Even though these radio shows are entertaining, they still fall under journalism, and journalists should never express their opinions. No rants. No one wants to hear your complaints. And no comedy shows. They never work. Also, your show does not have to be in English. Here are some rules specifically if you're recording your show on campus at the kpcradio.com station. You will lose points if you cancel your show on the day it is scheduled. You must tell the program director the day before if you need to cancel. You cannot pre-record a show. There are 5 mics in the studio, which means you may have more than 1 guest in the studio for your show. There will be no call-in interviews allowed. You need to have your guests come to the studio on the campus of Pierce College. That being said, these rules do not apply for online classes where you are recording your show at home. For shows that are recorded from your home, you will record your shows using a Zoom audio recorder or your phone. If you're using your phone, download a free recording app, not the Voice Memos app on your phone. That records in a different format that can't be edited with Adobe Audition. Speaking of editing, do not edit your shows. You must submit the original unedited 25-minute MP3 file. You may interview your subject via phone, Zoom, or in person. Make sure your audio recording device is working and recording correctly. Set a stopwatch to time your show. Remember, your show must be 25 minutes long. I will only accept a show if it's between 24 minutes and 26 minutes long. Longer or shorter shows will not be accepted. You must write your script for your show open and the close before you record your show, and you must follow your scripted open and your scripted close closely. You must submit your script when you upload your MP3 file of your show. No script means no credit. Here are some tips for scheduling guests. When contacting potential guests, start with, "Hi, my name is Tracy Savage. I'm with kpcradio.com, the Pierce College radio station. I'm hosting a 25-minute long weekly talk show on the station called," and then you'd name your show. The show deals with, and you'd give a brief description of the show, "and I was wondering if I could book you to be a guest on my show." So the point here is that you want to sound professional and polished. You want to be taken seriously and not disregarded as a student. Be sure to include how their appearance on your show could help their product, cause, or idea that they are promoting. For example, this is a campus radio station that's listened to by students, but also you can put a link to your show on your social media sites to help promote your product or cause or idea. If you're sending this out in an email, there is a strong chance you're never going to hear back from them. Email requests are often ignored. If you're reaching out to business owners, they might be reluctant to come on your show. Follow up with a phone call. And finally, if you can, it's always best to meet with potential guests in person. Go there, show up, and meet with them face to face. Go to their place of business if you can. If you're not getting guests, chances are you just picked the wrong topic. It is better to find this out early. You can change your topic up to the last day of week 3 and not lose any points. Maybe you're not asking potential guests the right way. Remember, give the guests a strong reason to spend this time with you on your show. It'll help you, but it will really help them. Keep in mind, students are the worst guests. They often flake. Professors are better, definitely more reliable. And business owners do tend to show up because, well, they have something to sell. Have a last-minute guest in your back pocket, on call, just in case. So how do you succeed in showbiz? Well, it's really not hard. Here are the simple steps. Book a guest. Prepare your script with the open and the show close, and about 10 to 20 questions. More is better. Email the prepared script to the program director the day before your show. Now, this does not apply to online classes because you're going to be recording your show from home. Then you would host your 25-minute show. Next, post your completed show and your script to the Canvas Dropbox by the end of weeks 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. A little bit of advice: do 3 shows quickly, 3 in a row, right out of the gate. You'll get in the groove, you can learn from your mistakes, and get better with each show. Let's talk about how you prepare your guests. Call and book a guest, and then remind that guest about 3 days before the show, and then 1 day before the show. If you're recording your show at the radio station on campus, tell the guest to come about an hour early and wait by the sheriff's station. They should contact you when they arrive to receive the parking pass. Again, this does not apply to online classes. You would then meet your guest to deliver the parking pass, and after the guest parks, walk the guest to the studio. If you're recording your show at home, obviously, none of this applies. Make small talk with your guests to get them comfortable. Don't ask all of your questions, just keep the discussion general. Ask if there's anything specific the guest would like to mention in the show. Don't guarantee this, but it could generate good discussion topics. And then remind your guests not to swear. Tell the guests that this is a family-related station and we just don't cuss on the air. They aren't a good guest if they can't keep profanity out of the conversation. Remind the guest who you are and who's listening. Now I'm going to give you some instructions that will help you write your script, an outline that you can use. So the first thing you need to write is your introduction. Part 1 introduces the show and you as the host. This is going to always be the same week after week, show after show. You'll use that 2-sentence tag that you created in your intro. This is an assignment that you're going to be doing this week. Here's an example of what this introduction should sound like. Hello, and welcome to Sweet Treats, the show all about the best places for sugar in the San Fernando Valley. Sweet Treats, the place to get your sweet eats. I'm your host, Tracy Savage. So you introduce the show, the name of the show, you say a couple of sentences that describes your show, and then you introduce yourself. Part 2 is where you introduce the current show's topic. Again, this is scripted. So you start with a topic sentence and then explain what this particular show will be about. Here's an example. There are only 3 ice cream parlors in the San Fernando Valley that serve only gluten-free ice cream. Today, we're going to talk with the owner of one of them. So that's part 2, introducing the current show's topic. You can also flip-flop part 1 and part 2, doing them in the reverse order. This is called a cold open, and it's a pretty effective way to start a show. So you'd start with part 2 and then go back to part 1. Here's how it would sound. There are only 3 ice cream parlors in the San Fernando Valley that serve only gluten-free ice cream. Today, we're going to talk with the owner of one of them. Hello, and welcome to Sweet Treats, the show all about the best places for sugar in the San Fernando Valley. Sweet Treats, the place to get your sweet eats. I'm your host, Tracy Savage. And then you'd move on to part 3, and this is where you would introduce your guest. This also should be scripted. You would include in your brief introduction a line or two about their bio, any awards, any accolades, basically what makes them stand out. For example, my guest today is Bill Jones, who owns I'm Jonesin' for Sugar. Mr. Jones has owned his candy store in Canoga Park since 2010, and his business has earned an award for Best Gluten-Free Candy in Los Angeles. Part 4, you welcome your guest. You can script this as well. Here's an example. Mr. Jones, thank you very much for being here today to talk about gluten-free candy. Part 5 is the Q&A, question and answer. This is the meat of your show where you're holding a conversation with your guest. You should prepare a minimum of 10 questions. 20 questions are better. Then you want your show close, and this should be scripted. With about 1 minute left in the show, you would read the show close. You would thank the guest, remind listeners of the guest's name and business, tell listeners the contact info for the guest, that it can be found on kpcradio.com. You might want to then tease your next show if you know it. For example, coming up next week, I'll interview the owner of a gelato store. Thank the audience for listening, say goodbye, and include your name. Here's an example. Mr. Jones, thank you so much for joining me today. Good luck with your store. Again, it's called I'm Jonesing for Sugar, located in Canoga Park. For more information, go to kpcradio.com. And coming up in my next show, we head to Reseda and talk with the owner of Imported Candies. I want to thank you all for listening. I'm Tracy Savage. I hope you join me next week. By the way, when you thank your guest, give them a chance to say you're welcome. Perhaps they're going to follow up with, I had a great time, something like that. But give them the chance to say that. Don't just bury yourself in your scripted close and ignore them. They're still part of this conversation, and when you say thank you for joining us, they're going to want to say you're very welcome. What happens after the show? Well, if you're recording your show on campus, step 1 is to have a photo taken with the guest. And step 2 would be to escort the guest to their car. You want to get the parking pass and return that to the radio station. Now, this does not apply to online classes. Step 3 is post to the Canvas Dropbox. Go to the Canvas Dropbox, find the correct Dropbox, shows 1 through 6, and submit the following into the Dropbox: the date of the show, the guest of your show, your MP3 file, the audio recording of the show, and your script. Step 4 is to write a short blurb about your show. Include your show title, the guest and their title, and the topic of the show. For examples, check out kpcradio.com and check out some of the shows and the blurbs that are included with the shows posted on the website. Email that blurb and the show, the MP3 file, to the program director to post it to kpcradio.com to the website. Step 5 is follow up with your guest. Contact the guest and send them the link to your show from the kpcradio.com website. Ask if they know any potential guests that might work for your show. All right, let's back up a little bit and talk about what types of questions you should ask. Here are some tips. Start with big picture questions. This sets up the interview. Example, what is it about your business that you love? Why are you passionate about it? That's a big, broad question. Ask only open-ended questions that require a complete answer, that require your guest to give details. Don't ask yes or no questions. They go nowhere. Start questions with things like how or why or explain. You'll get better answers. Think about story arc, beginning, middle, and end, and ask your questions in that order. Think in chronological order. After the big picture question, then back up and ask how they got started, their history. So you would ask questions in this order: history, challenges and successes, and future. So get the guests to tell their stories. Encourage them to tell their stories. Tell me more, you ask. Listen to what they're saying. Don't just focus on your list of questions, but rather listen, or you may miss important information to follow up with. Jot down notes on a blank sheet of paper, just a word or two, to remind you to follow up with questions as the guest speaks. Write down follow-up questions that come to mind. And then cross off questions. As you ask a question, cross it off the list so you don't repeat yourself. So how do you get questions? Well, you do research and you write down notes. Make questions based on your notes. Do a pre-interview if you can. Talk to the person before your show to get some information about their history and background. Gather enough basic information to come up with an outline of questions. But during your pre-interview, don't ask too many questions. You want your show Q&A to be fresh. So here are some tips to help you while you're hosting and recording your show. Don't make noise. Keep quiet. Don't ruffle the pages of your script or move your chair. It will distract from the interview. Don't answer with yes or uh-huh. You need to remain objective, and you don't want to be heard agreeing with everything your guest says. Silently nod or show expressions, giving feedback, with your face, but don't talk while the guest is speaking. Don't let the guests drone on. Guests may answer with long, drawn-out answers, 3 to 5 minutes on one question. Your job is to keep the interview moving If their answer is rambling and completely off point or just boring, help to keep them focused. Don't be afraid to jump in when your guest is taking a breath, to interrupt them and to get them to refocus. The guests may just give one-word answers. Yikes. Be prepared to draw them out. Ask questions such as, well, can you explain that more? Give me more details. Or tell me the history behind this. You should be able to know if this is going to happen, if they're only going to give you one-word answers during the pre-interview. If guests aren't talkative during your initial call, don't schedule them. Just politely say, I'm going to check my schedule and call you back. Then call and say, oh, I'm sorry, slots are all full, so sorry. Remember, don't give your opinions during the interview, ever. Finally, have fun and don't worry. We don't care if you're horrible in these shows. Everyone starts out pretty rough. You'll still get full credit. If you talk for 25 minutes, keep the show going, you're going to get full credit. So have fun. And after you've done this 3 or 4 or 5 times, you'll get better. I know this is a lot of information. Remember, all of this information is listed in a page in this Week 1 module, and you can always refer to the radio show instructions all semester. Now, this week you're going to be assigned to complete and submit 2 questionnaires. The first questionnaire assigns you to analyze a previous radio show. This will help you better understand how these shows are supposed to sound, and it'll help you come up with a topic, a title, and a brief description for your own show. That brief description is known as the tag. There are 2 parts to this assignment, so be sure to complete both parts and submit your completed questionnaire into the Dropbox at the bottom of this module. The second questionnaire requires you to pick a topic for your show. Before you do that, let's review the tips that I provided for you in a file in this module called How to Pick the Right Radio Show. The first thing is pick the thing that you love. It's a lot easier and a lot more fun to talk about something for 25 minutes if you're interested in the topic. You don't have to be an expert on the topic, you just have to enjoy it. It can be a great experience to have a discussion with someone about something that you are passionate about. You get to ask them questions and learn from them. Do you enjoy cars or cooking, politics, movie making? What is it that interests you? That's your show. Number 2 is pick something where your guests are prone to be selling products, services, or ideas. Here's some examples of all 3. So, products could include gluten-free bakery items, organic vegetables, used cars, low-flow toilets, music. Services include things like installing solar panels, massage therapy, psychic readings, tax preparation, guitar lessons, car repair. And ideas would include things like Black Lives Matter, immigration rights, COVID-19 safety, politics. Your guests need to have a reason to come on your show. They need to be motivated by something that will benefit them. If they're selling something, a product or a service or an idea, it will benefit them to come on your show to promote what they are selling. If you do both of these, number 1 and number 2, you will have no trouble. Your show needs to be San Fernando Valley related. Your guests will be from the Valley and their business or organization will be in the Valley. Your show needs to be on a topic that isn't already being done on the professional level, like a sports show that focuses on a professional team. You can do high school or even a Pierce College sports show. You just can't do a show on the LA Dodgers. So how do you pick the right radio show? Well, you need to come up with an umbrella topic. Your idea should be a broad, general topic, broad enough so that you can come up with 6 different shows. Then you will need 6 episodes that relate to this broad topic. So here's an example of an umbrella topic: healthy living. And some show ideas include buying organic food, practicing yoga, massage therapy to de-stress, cooking at home versus buying takeout, benefits of meditation, and vitamins and supplements. There are 6 show ideas all under one umbrella topic of healthy living. Here's another example. The Hollywood film business would be your umbrella topic. Show ideas would include how to get a script optioned, benefits of working as a production assistant, location work, the life of an actor, directing versus producing, and low budget filmmaking. And then finally, here's a third example: getting a college degree. That would be an umbrella topic. And then your 6 separate shows could be how to develop good study habits, how to pick the right major, handling pressures of school and work, loans and paying for college, is a gap year worth it, and internships. Keep in mind, it can be tough to get guests to come to Pierce College and park and come to the radio station and talk for 25 minutes. So when you think of a topic, consider who your guests might be and how tough would it be to find guests that can talk about your general topic and would be willing to come to Pierce during the day to do a show. As I've already said, students can be a little flaky. You might want to avoid getting students as guests. Professors are usually quite reliable and are often willing to help a Pierce College radio station host. For the online class, you have an advantage. Getting guests to go on your show is a lot easier if they only have to call you from the comfort of their own home. All right, once you've come up with an idea or 2 for your show, go to the assignment on Canvas, the second questionnaire called Radio Show Topic, and complete that questionnaire. Instructions for this questionnaire say that you will be pitching your show idea during our class, either online or on campus. The whole class will brainstorm your show idea, offer tips, and maybe even suggest possible guests. Do your best to zero in on a show topic, but you can also have a few alternate ideas if you don't feel strongly about your show topic. Once this questionnaire is completed, submit it to the Dropbox at the bottom of the Week 1 module. Your last assignment, that is due at the end of this week, requires you to gather the materials that you'll need for this class. There are instructions available for you on Canvas, but I'll go through them for you now. This is a 4-part assignment. Part 1, please create a YouTube account if you don't have one, and take a screenshot of your YouTube account. Part 2, create an Adobe account if you don't have one, and download Adobe Audition to your desktop. Take a screenshot of Adobe Audition on your desktop. Part 3, create a KPC Radio Gmail account. It should follow this format: your first initial, comma, last name, dot, kpcr@gmail.com. So for example, mine would be tsavage.kpcr@gmail.com. And then take a screenshot of your Gmail account. And then upload the 3 screenshots on a Word or PDF file to the Dropbox. And then the 4th step is to gather your other supplies. You're going to need an SD card for a Zoom if you're borrowing one from the Media Arts Department. Make sure it's no bigger than 64 gigabytes. The Zooms can't handle a data card bigger than that. You'll need 2 AA batteries for the Zoom, again, if you're borrowing one from the Media Arts Department, and a hard drive or a flash drive dedicated to this class is a must. Please take a photo of your supplies and upload the photo on a Word or PDF file to the Dropbox. The Dropbox to submit these files is at the bottom of the Week 1 module. Just below the Course Materials Dropbox is a final Dropbox where you will submit forms and a copy of your legal ID in order to borrow a Zoom audio recorder. Please read the detailed instructions that I provided for you in this module carefully. Switching gears. You're not required to have a hard drive for this class, but it is strongly recommended. I want to show you how to format a hard drive to be used on a Mac or a PC or both. When you are producing digital projects, you can end up with a lot of clips, and all those clips can take up a lot of space on your computer and on your desktop. You should consider buying a hard drive to store your files and then working off of that hard drive. Hard drives range in price from about $50 for a 1 terabyte hard drive to a couple of $100. You can buy them at Amazon or Best Buy or Staples or Office Depot. When you buy one, just make sure it is Mac and PC compatible if you want to use your hard drive for both types of operating systems. And it'll say this on the box. And I suggest you buy one that will store up to at least 1 terabyte of data. Also, look for a hard drive that's fairly rugged. If you drop your hard drive, it could crash, making it unusable and making the files that are on that hard drive unretrievable. That is no good. I'm going to show you now how to format a hard drive for a Mac or a PC or for both. And I'm going to show you how to do this on a Mac. It'll be slightly different on a PC, but the principle is the same. I have a PDF file with step-by-step instructions on how to format a hard drive located in this week's module, but I'm going to go through those instructions right now for you. First thing, plug your hard drive into your computer and locate the hard drive icon on your desktop. Now, to format your hard drive, you're going to have to erase all of the content that is on your hard drive. If you already have files stored in your hard drive, move them off the hard drive and onto your desktop for now to save them. You can move them back onto your hard drive when you're done. Then, close your hard drive and click on Go at the top of your screen, and then scroll down to Utilities. With Utilities selected, scroll down to Disk Utility and click Open that. With Disk Utility open, click on your external hard drive found in the column on the left side. This is a good way, by the way, to find out the size of your hard drive and how much space is left. The capacity for my hard drive is 2 terabytes, and I've only used 944 megabytes. My hard drive is already set up to work on a Mac. This will not work on a PC. I'm going to show you how to set it up to fit your needs. Locate the Erase tab at the top center of Disk Utility. The format for my hard drive is Mac OS Extended Journaled. This is the format for Mac. If this is what you want and this is what you have, then stop right there. Hit cancel. You don't have to reformat. You are set to go. But if the format says something different, here's how you would select the proper format for your needs. Click the arrow on the right of the Format box to open up the Format drop-down menu. You can see several options. To format your hard drive to use on both a PC and a Mac, scroll all the way down to exFAT. If you only work on a PC, scroll up to MS-DOS. This is the PC format, MS-DOS FAT. Then click Erase. It'll take a few seconds to complete the reformatting. When it's done, you'll get a green check mark. The erase process is complete, and you can click Done. Now, sometimes it doesn't always complete the process, and you may need to click Erase a second or even a third time until you're successful. Finally, we want to make sure if you lose your hard drive, maybe you leave it in a classroom or a library, and someone finds it, they can get it back to you. Click Open your hard drive, and then create a folder in your hard drive. To do this, go to the little gear icon. It's like a sprocket that's at the top, and scroll down to New Folder and select that. Then label that new folder Open if found. And then place inside that folder a Word file with your name, your email address, and a phone number. Better safe than sorry. Most of your assignments in this class will require you to record interviews and ambient sound out in the field. Ambient sound is also called natural sound. It is not pre-recorded. But occasionally, you may want to add a music bed, music that plays at a low level, quieter than your narration, to help set a mood. This might be a good idea to include in your podcast assignment. I want to show you now ways to find royalty-free music and how to convert YouTube videos to MP3 files. A great source for free music and sound effects is YouTube. By now, you should all have YouTube accounts set up, so go to your YouTube account. Click it open, and then look for your icon in the right corner. Then click on your icon. Mine is a photo of me, and you should get a drop-down menu that looks like this. Select YouTube Studio. When you're in YouTube Studio, look over to the left side, the column, and at the very bottom, select Audio Library. The Audio Library lets you search for free, downloadable music and sound effects. There are thousands of options, and for music, some great filters where you can select the genre, the mood of the music, the instrument, etc. When you find a cut of music or a sound effect that you want to use, simply click the download arrow and it'll end up as an MP3 file in your downloads folder on your computer. And you can drag this MP3 file right into your projects. I'm going to show you how when I introduce you to Premiere Pro later in this week's module. What if there is a specific song that you have to use in some of your work for this class? Well, it's probably copyrighted material, but as long as you don't post your project to YouTube and only submit it to our class Dropbox, then you can put that song in your project. But my advice is to try to stay away from copyrighted material. I will show you now how to convert a YouTube video to an MP3 music file or an MP4 video file that you can use in your class projects. It's super easy, and knowing how to do this will come in handy. First, find the YouTube music video that you want to convert. Copy the URL. Search for a free conversion app. I usually Google Convert YouTube to MP3 free. A bunch of options will pop up. Some are better than others. Some require you to log in or have pretty obnoxious ads that you have to get past. So you may have to check out a few before you find a decent one that won't require anything of you. Then you simply paste the URL from the YouTube music video into the box provided. Once you've done that, click Convert. Remember, not all of these free sites are user-friendly. Keep experimenting, and when you find a good one, remember it. Once your YouTube video is converted to either an MP3 or an MP4 video file, the MP3 is just the audio, MP4 is audio and video, click Download. It'll end up in your Downloads file. Drag it onto your desktop or into your hard drive, into the correct project folder, and you're good to go. All right, that's it for this lecture video. Remember, you must submit all of the work that's due this week by the end of this week, Sunday at 11:59. Good luck, everyone.